All right. So, as I said, it's the reduction, de-escalation is the reduction of intensity of a conflict or potentially violent situation. It's especially useful in action scenarios or things where there's a lot of people. There might be the potential for unsafe or violent behavior, and you want to make sure that everybody gets home safe and comports themselves safely. So, um, what are some scenarios that might need de-escalating? And here I thought maybe people could put in the chat or come off mute for a second and share um, some examples of times at an action or otherwise that people might be need some situation that needs de-escalation. Can be very basic. Counter protesters, that's a great one. Someone starts bothering petitioners or tablers, totally. Police interactions at a protest. That's really good. Yes. Great. Two people at a meeting have a heated argument. Totally. Yeah. Doesn't always have to be at a protest or be in the streets. So those are all really good examples. Some other examples are a person that's angry because they're being stuck in traffic by demonstration. They have to get to work or, they're just annoyed at being inconvenienced. Sometimes maybe there's a fight that's about to break out or it is actively occurring. Sometimes people are yelling at action takers for whatever reason. That happens not infrequently, unfortunately. And we got some other examples from you folks. Um, I also want to add that some of my experience with this personally as is as a like safety marshal or it's all there's other names for it, but basically being on the safety team for a number of actions where your job is to keep an eye out and really definitely not to, police anybody's activity or anything like that, but just make sure that the people participating in the action or demonstration are safe and that, no situation gets out of hand from outside agitators or things like that. Um, so I have some experience coming from that side of things. But all of this really starts with de-escalating yourself. Because if you are in a state of heightened intensity and you are, either freaking out or really angry or something like that, um, you cannot de-escalate a situation effectively. You might just add fuel to the fire. So some ways to de-escalate yourself can be, physical, slowing your breathing, making intentional like sort of things and like lowering your heart rate. Some people like to like put their hand on their heart, do a little like self-hug or just some kind of soothing gesture. Lowering your voice automatically kind of, makes you lower your intensity. If you think intense, you think yelling, loud, it can be a lot. So lowering your voice can trick yourself into de-escalating. There's other things like mantra, prayer, or singing, anything like that that can help, kind of soothe or help you take a breath. And also remembering that, whatever is happening is likely not personal to you. And by distancing yourself emotionally from it, it can help you remember um, to take a step back and breathe. And also you can feel your feet physically in the ground. And you can remind yourself of why you were there, because it is very easy to be caught up in the moment and be upset about any, reaction or something like that. But remembering, like, I am here because I think this is very important. I am here because I think this action will have an impact. And that is why we need to be here, even though it makes people annoyed or something like that, for example. There are also times when you may need to de-escalate your teammates. So it's like I said, it's not always some stranger. Sometimes it's very often, your friends, your comrades, your teammates. Um, there's situations where like, either, they might be afraid or they might get loud or something like that. And just reminding them that you are there with them, you're seeing them as they are, you're there with them as a peer. Some people, if you like already know that there's somebody who wouldn't mind like a hand on the shoulder or something like that, sometimes that can help. Sometimes people know for a fact that if they get like a hand on the shoulder when they're already heated, that will just make them more annoyed, and that's not a good idea. So definitely like, you know, vibe it out, see if you can like already have a discussion about that if possible. But also lowering your voice again in the way that people really love to mirror each other, just biologically. So if you lower your voice, somebody else is likely to lower their voice for one thing, so they might be able to hear what you have to say. But also just it feels a bit wrong to shout and then have somebody be like talking really quietly and you want to like bring it down. Um, Singing with them is another thing. You can remind them of their self de-escalation techniques, anything they might, have told you about what they practice, how they calm down, things like that. And this "you're not helping" is a very specific tone. It's more of like if you can tell somebody is getting like really worked up and they're inserting themselves in a situation and having like a genuine, not a like, angry, but like a, hey, you're not helping in this situation. Sometimes that is enough to kind of get yourself out of that mindset and break away. And then the thing that is often the most volatile is de-escalating outsiders. Um, so a lot of these are things that, you might use at an action or something like that, where there are people that are coming up to the group and they are not involved in the group, but it also could be, it could be people that are involved in the group, but maybe they don't know you, or again, it doesn't have to be an action situation. So these are all tools in a toolkit that you can apply. Um, One thing very important is body language. So, visible hands is one of the most universal signs of I mean no harm to you. I've got nothing in my hands. I'm not concealing anything from you. It's very we're here, hi, but and they don't have to be, this is a little bit like you have the power and I'm scared of you, but down here, like, hey, how's it going? You can also do like a open hand, um, near your hip or something like that. You don't necessarily want to be up in their face because that kind of makes people think that, there might be a larger, implication that there's going to be some kind of contact. You also might want to create distance, but without giving up room. For example, if you are trying to hold somebody from getting closer to protesters. And so something you can do is like lean or, put a foot out so you're still holding that space, but you lean back a little bit to create some distance and get them away from directly your face. Um, you also definitely do not want to crowd people. So if there is a single individual that is coming up and is agitated or trying to escalate, you don't want six people rushing them to try and deal with them because somebody will feel cornered. They will feel, we are at the end of the day animals. So somebody might feel cornered and might like just freak out even more. So if you can try to keep it to like one or two people that are talking to them. Um, and try to, a big thing as well is trying to get people away from anyone that might be vulnerable. So I've marshaled out a number of actions that are like youth, students, minors, and when there are angry people like that, try to just, remove them from the immediate proximity of students. Talk, hey, can we talk over here? And that is just like a safety measure. But also, you want to just like keep your eyes on them, make sure that they are not going and accosting a bunch of people that who's not their job to talk to them. Some other body language things, you want to keep kind of soft eye contact. So if you have sunglasses, take them off because your eyes cover like all your emotions, so people don't really know how to connect with you. It makes you feel very like unfeeling, which is why people wear them because people think unfeeling means cool. Um, but you can take them off for that interaction. Um, and also, soft eye contact, not like staring daggers at them off and on as you would with anyone else. Um, and then a huge thing is like having empathy and understanding where somebody might be coming from. Why are they so mad? And not everyone has a clear like answer, but a lot of times it's like maybe a mixture of overstimulation, inconvenience, and they're having a bad day or something like that. And having some kind of just like thinking and putting yourself in their shoes and understanding why they might be mad and being like, I hear you. That is a lot of times people want to, this is kind of the active listening, jumping ahead a little bit, but saying people want to hear that they are heard and, saying like, I am, this apologize. I am so sorry. Like, I'm sorry that you're being inconvenienced. We're going to be gone in just a minute. I understand that this is really hard. Um, but let's go from here. Again, there's lowering the voice, mirroring, and lowering the altitude and uh like velocity of everything. Um, you might need to, come into the situation with a higher voice just so that they can hear you. But then as you go down, it is likely that they will go down too. Obviously, none of these are assured. Singing might be a tactic if there's like a large group and you have an agitator that wants a lot of attention, or, it's a counter protester or something like that. Um, and if you kind of brick wall them with just a ton of people, singing a song and they realize uh, they're not going to get the attention that they want. A lot of times people will just walk away or maybe they'll call somebody. I've heard somebody had that experience of like they called somebody to rant because they weren't getting that reaction out of them. If you are in a conversation, again, this active listening and, don't interrupt the flow of it. Don't like that is something that in life annoys people and makes them feel like they're not being heard and makes it feel like the situation just got a lot worse. And sometimes they'll be saying something, you'll have a conversation. One of your teammates will come up and like yell something, and then it goes back to square one. So kind of keeping the whole idea of this is to slow things down because conflict and violence, these things get dangerous when there's a high intensity and things are happening quickly and it's like too much. So slowing it down, letting people take a chance to breathe, and all of these things are things that will like make it less intense and reduce the possibility that people are going to um, get more escalated. Sometimes, saying like it's not personal, it's not worth it. Finding, where it's like, if they're gonna about to act out, you're like, it's not worth it to do this. You'll have a better day if you just walk away. Like this is not worth it. We're gonna be gone in a minute. Those kinds of things. Um, we also want to ask questions and find common grounds, being like, oh, what, you're like, I have to get home because I have to pick up my kids from school. oh, you have kids, like how old are they? How are they doing in school? Just like random things. Again, we're slowing down the conflict. Finding common ground at all. I care about this too. I have kids too. That's why I'm here today because I really care about their future. You can do that, but the real thing is you're not really trying to convince people of the mission of the event. You're just trying to make it so that things don't get escalated, right? And it's not your job uh to like win every argument or fully explain why why people feel the need to protest. And oftentimes that just leads to us getting escalated because, we get annoyed that people don't understand why this is so important or something like that. Um, some people can use humor. Humor can definitely de-escalate a situation if you do it right, because it has to come from a place of laughing with someone and not at them. People do not like feeling like they are being humiliated or anything like that, and that can escalate a situation. Um, Sometimes people can like appeal to a higher nature of like, we're here for the kids or something like that. But yeah, basically these are a bunch of tools, and you really would have to try them out. And if one isn't getting the reaction that you expect, try another. And not every situation, can be successfully de-escalated. And I'm not saying that everybody should like throw themselves into this like a escalated situation and try them out for the first time. There, definitely don't do that. But um, just having the idea of being like, how are ways that we can de-escalate the situation before it even becomes a problem, right? So if somebody is talking a little bit loudly, but maybe they're not like yelling or pushing at people yet, that's a time when you could be like, hey, how's it going? And like one of the things my friend does is in the ask questions department is like ask like random questions, being like, hey, do you know where the nearest bathroom is? And they're like, uh, and that sometimes is enough. Um, and sometimes it's not. But, kind of just being like, hey, can we talk over here? What's up? Like, how's it going? How's your day going? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I know. It can be inconvenient. But we're gonna be out of here. We're only, gonna be here for another few minutes. So it's really we'll be out of your hair in no time. And then that is not a sentence and a vibe that is easy to get really mad at. Um, and I'll just kind of wrap things up here by saying that, like, by practicing, that is how you're going to get better at this. So next time you're hanging out with friends or with teammates, try doing a very short like role play exercise where one person pretends to be somebody that's really escalated or pissed off about something, and the other one tries to de-escalate. And it will feel very weird and very awkward, but you get more comfortable as you go. Um, I also wanted to add, I don't have it on a slide, but it is smart to think about how, like, identities and your privilege and how you are being perceived in the world. Um, because there's sometimes situations where, like, you know, one, you don't want to get in any kind of, you don't want to have a situation lead to, police getting in there. So de-escalating can help uh, avoid getting police into our community events, which we want to avoid at all costs, because that will always come down harder on people of color and other people with like mental health issues or other people like that. So definitely consider that and consider, will somebody like, am I the best person to go about this de-escalation? Do I have a friend who maybe they would react better hearing it from? Something like that. And just, it's going to be awkward no matter what. But it's much better to be awkward than to be dangerous. So those are some things we can do to de-escalate. Um, I see one comment in the chat. It's probably not a good idea to cross your arms. Yes, I also think that's important for body language, kind of keeping open and not closed off. The whole idea is being, open, friendly, chill. Um, yeah, that is my mini training.